And we're live in three, two, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Planet Mullins podcast. We're in season 6 right now. It's September 2023, right after Labor Day, and we are blasting through them. Today I have an amazing new sensation in America and around the world, who's a keyboard player, composer, and he has just taken the world by storm. Please say hello to Vahagn Stepanyan. Hey, man.
Hello, hey.
Yeah. I didn't realize until just a minute ago that, you being Armenian, English is your second language. So that's amazing. But you look so good. You probably don't have to say much. And thanks for
Yeah.
coming on this early because we're doing this really early in the morning on the West Coast. It's like 9 in the morning. So anyway, Vahag, we were just talking about your new album, which is called A New Chapter, right? Is this your first album, fifth album, 10th album?
This is my second album. Before that, I had my debut album called Moonlight, featuring Eric Moore and featuring Eric Marienthal, Melvin Lee Davis. I already forgot the musicians, but yeah, pretty nice musicians.
I know those guys, man. I actually wrote Eric Marienthal's first top 2 radio songs.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
And I've known Melvin since 1988 or
Melvin is a
something.
good.
So you're in good company. Now on the new album though, you've got even more people. You've got Dave Koz on there. I've got
They've
Eric
got
Moore you mentioned.
Eric Moore, Greg Howe, Ida Nilsson, who been the former bass player for Prince.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, and then Mark Lethierry from Snarky Puppy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and Philip Lassiter, who is an 11-time Grammy winner. He worked with Ariana Grande and many other great artists.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I had Kit Wakely on the show a couple of times, and um, this was when he was doing the Saints and Sinners project. Excuse me. And I asked him, I said, "How did you get the London Symphony and Steve Vai on your album? Because you're just some guy from Oklahoma." And he says, "Do you know how to use email? I just
Yeah,
emailed them."
that's correct.
Yeah. So, how did you end up meeting all these people and coming to America from Armenia and all that? Tell me your story.
It's been really a long journey for me. It's been already 15 years that I'm working with overseas people from Armenia, and then during that period of time, I built the best recording studio in Armenia. And then I always been passionate about music, and I dreamed to collaborate with these people. When I was kid, I was always watching them, buying their CDs, keep saving and just investing on the CDs to keep learning. But my teachers and my colleagues were keep saying that forget about that. It's just a dream. It will
Oh,
never happen.
really?
It will never happen. These guys are super famous. They will never care about you or about your music. Just keep playing your classical music.
Oh, really?
And then I was like, okay, one day I will keep reminding about this.
That's
I grew, I was like, yeah, my first dream was like, Eric Marienthal to work with and many other artists that I worked on my first album.
uh-huh.
When I saw it's happening, I was like, okay, this looks really good.
That's so great, man. Did you come to knowing about Eric through the Chick Corea Electric Band or how?
Yeah, I had his solo album as well during those days that I was listening daily.
Which one
But yeah,
was that?
um, I will lie if I say I remember honestly.
Okay.
but I remember the cover. So it was like a girl, blonde hair that he was holding, like standing with the sax. I forgot that album name, but
You know, the
it,
funny thing about men, though, is that we might forget the album name, but
yeah,
we know there was a blonde girl on the cover.
it's really hard for me to remember names, even artist names. I'm like very having difficult time to remember some artist name. So but the music wise, I'm like, okay, it's in my ear, so I know.
That's so great. I think the album you're referring to was called Turn Up the Heat, but I'm not exactly sure. I did two albums with Eric, and one was the Walk Tall Cannonball Adderley tribute.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I like you, I can't remember. I just remember I got songs on those. And then did you start writing your music? Like, did you have to do it in secret? Like, when I talked to some of the people, like even Hubert Laws that I still work with, he said back in the early days, Chick Corea and himself at Juilliard School, they would have to do all of their jazz stuff in secret because you weren't allowed to play or study jazz at Juilliard in those days.
I was just Googling the album name. It's called Sweet Talk.
Sweet Talk.
Yeah. It's like one of there was a record, I think number 5 track. It was like, oh my goodness, that was my favorite. And I kept listening. And I was like, when I grow, I was 13 or 14 or 15 years old in those days,
Mhm.
before when I was just start listening to Eric Marienthal. And I was like, always when I grew up, I'm gonna work with him. I was like, but I will never ever imagine that it will happen someday. So
Right.
it was 2015 that I released my first album, and I got a support from Capitol Studios and some other huge musicians because I was not able to release it by myself.
Uh-huh.
They were like, oh wow, you are talented, let's do this together. And I was like, okay. I did not have a studio in those days, yeah, but I could make world-class records, and then everything started from there.
That's so great, man. Well, did you study just on your own music production and recording techniques? Did you do that? Because I just did it by trial by error, and
Nice.
in my early days, and then I had people similarly to you that said, hey man, why don't you try putting the microphone over here, or maybe you should put compressors and EQ, and then you just learn over time. But obviously these big time people were really impressed with what you were doing. So how did that lead to like a record deal and all of that?
I start. I studied 15 years classical music. I finished conservatory where we were just playing classical music, but even jazz I never studied. So even I had people who were saying you will not be able to play jazz. So, and I was like, okay, let me get some CDs and start learning by my own. And
Did it by
until,
ear? You
yes, until one day, one of my friends said he was a great jazz player, and he said, there is no any secret to study jazz playing. So what you have to do is just whatever you have in your ear and you can sing, you just repeat it on the keys. And that was the key that opened my ear that, okay, don't be scared. Just there is no any secrets to play jazz. You just need to improvise whatever you have it in your ear. So that's how it started. And then when first time I flied in United States, it was 2010, and I saw how people, mostly Black Americans, are care about my music. I was like, hold on, are you serious? You, like I'm really talented. And then that pushed me a lot, because I started believing in myself that, okay, I have the talent now. I just need to do hard work. That's all.
Right. Yeah, it's
Mm.
a lot of work, but you know, the technique that you use to learn jazz is one that originally came from Africa. And you know, a lot of the important things that are the seeds and foundation of jazz come from Africa. And it's very simply called call and response. And call and response is one of those things where, as a teacher, I'm always telling people that music is a language. And when, just like when you're a child, you're a baby, and your mother says something and you learn to repeat that.
Yes.
And your father says something and you learn to repeat that. And it's the same way with music. I mean, especially now in today's world with all the technology and everything, you can work with transcriptions and you can see all of this stuff, but the call and response technique sounds like it has really worked for you. And it worked for me too, because my mom was a piano player. So, you know, she would play something on the piano and I had really good ears too. And my sisters both studied piano and they were very slow and they would be trying to play their music and they would be at the piano and my mother was cooking and then my sister would get frustrated and walk away from the piano and then I would just walk over and play her whole lesson without even
Yeah.
reading it, you know, without even reading the music. So now on your second album, you're
Let But
oh
I'm sorry, I forgot to finish about the music production that you were asking about the
oh yeah
question. If
yeah
you
yeah
So and then I play about different instruments like horns, saxophone, guitar, bass. So anyway, but when I got when I was I don't remember my age, but I was around 17 or 18 when I dreamed to play saxophone.
uh-huh
I received a saxophone gift, alto saxophone. In those days, it was like, oh my goodness, someone from America comes to Armenia and giving me a gift.
great
So I started to practice, but after a while, and I was playing. After a while, when I get in love in music production, I was like, I need that Pentium 3 or Pentium 4. I think it was Pentium 3 first that I started, but I was dreaming to have the computer to start studying myself. So I sold my saxophone that I got a gift, and I asked permission. I said, please don't get mad if I
right
sell this invest on production that I really want to study. So I got a new computer, and that's how I started learning all the stuff by my own. Even I was going and asking some secrets from people. They were not saying those secrets because it was a big secret, and no one don't wanted to share it with you because it's a part of their work that they work money. So,
right
but I could do it myself, and that's how everything started. That's all about music production. Yeah.
man that thank you for so much for sharing that because it's really true. I mean, in the old days in jazz in New York City, the young horn players would come to the jam session and the older horn players were not going to help them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you get a free lesson from, you know, Hank Mobley or Kenny Garrett or, I mean, even the older guys, uh, because they'd be like, oh, here comes the young guy. He's going to be the competition. So a lot of times they won't help you and then you figure it out. But you've got these amazing people with you, like Kit Wakely, who's a good friend of mine. How did you meet Kit Wakely, Vahag?
I met Kit about maybe first time when I was in the Grammys
Okay.
around 2017 or 2018, but we just met and that's all. And after several years, I was like, wow, I was impressed what he does. And when I started producing and arranging these tracks for my album, I invited him to join as well as a producer, because there is a lot to learn from him as well.
Yeah.
And I was do this together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's well, the people that you've got are the top of the top people. And folks, if you haven't seen Vahagn's new album, for me, it really makes me smile to see the cover because he's an astronaut. He's like, he's in a space
Actually,
suit.
actually, you know what means this artwork in the chapter?
Are you on the
So
surface of the moon, or what are you on the Jupiter, planet
we were
Mullins?
actually a couple of years ago, we were traveling to Las Vegas for the Grammys.
Okay.
So we decided to go to Arizona, Grand Canyon, to see all those fantastic.
Oh, it's the Grand Canyon.
No, it's not the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
After that, after the Grammys. So while we were on the road, there was a place that called, when we were passing the Utah, it was called Mars on Earth. And when we saw this, I was like, wow. And my wife was saying, oh, this looks like a Mars. Let's schedule to do some shoots here for the album. And I was like, this will be really cool. But when we saw the borders that it's closed, and then I Googled to understand where we are right now, I was like, this will look really actually amazing. And when I came back, I shared this with my good friend Vahagn Stepanyan, who is a award-winning VFX artist and supervisor and cinematography guy. So he's one of the best. And he said, let me draw that.
Oh,
So
he
he
drew it.
VFX, yeah, he drew this on iPad, and I
Wow.
was like, okay, and then transferred it to computer and did all the edits. It's actually kind of, it's not a Photoshop, so it's
Okay.
kind of, it's very difficult to do every single detail, and he painted everything.
That is
So
so
that I
great.
said, let's put clouds here that it does not look like too much Mars, but we are on Earth. So
Yeah, the
people
variant.
people don't complain. They say, "Oh, why you move the music?" We were like, "Let's get out of the political part. Just keep it very nice. Like this is something that I'm entering in new place. There is no music. Like I just start creating something unique.
Right.
And this some couple instruments, and I just start creating. So anyway,
Man, I think that's
so,
so fantastic because I grew up in the 70s basically, and in those days, it was a much more, we call it the wild, wild west. Like America was a whole lot less dramatic, and you could
yeah.
do crazy stuff. Like if there was a border there that said, Grand Canyon, do not go past this fence, the first thing we would do is go right over the fence. But now with the GPS, and we would get a rock. I remember that I got some rocks and I brought them home to my mom, and she's like, "Oh, that's nice, honey. Where did you get those?" And my dad would be like, "Don't tell her we jumped the fence because that's not legal." But before we run out of time here, I know you're charting on Billboard and you're up for a Grammy for what's your category this year?
It's the best alternative jazz album.
Okay, great. And um, what is the best way for people to listen to your music and to find you online? Because I want as many of my people that watch my show to get turned on to your music.
I have an FYC page where they can find all my videos, short documentaries about the album, and
Okay.
also it's are available. So it's my website www.vahstepanyan.com
Uh-huh.
slash YC
Okay.
2023.
Great, man. Well, hey, buddy, good luck to you.
Very much. I truly appreciate it. We are
Best,
super
best of luck to you because it's always a challenge to go against all odds, because from what you said, and this happened to a lot of people that I know from Bulgaria, from Russia, from Ukraine. from Belarus where you'll never make it. You got to study classical. Don't live your dreams. You have to play the classical. And then now you can go back there. And it was fun for me too, coming back to Denver, Colorado, because all the people that said I couldn't do anything then years ago was like, oh, now they have to pay $30 to say hello to me.
Yes.
And
Correct, yeah.
so it's
Yeah, sorry. We recently, the album and myself, I received 16 awards only in this 2023, which was like really unbelievable. Only in the past 7 days, I received just 5 awards, which was like overwhelming, really. Like I was humbled, and I'm waiting for more, so we will see.
all right. Well, I hope it ends up being a million. And thanks again for being on an episode of the Planet Mullins podcast, where we talk to celebrities in the music business, great engineers, folks from the Recording Academy, and up and coming rising stars like Vahagn. So we'll see everybody on the next show, and it's goodbye for now. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yes, thank you.